Joining me today is Pam Stenzel. She is part of the personhood movement, and she also is a speaker when it comes to pro-life issues. Pam, thank you so much for stopping by.
Oh, great to be with you. Thanks for having me.
Pam, we have a couple of things in common. I also graduated from Liberty University back in 1996, so I'm a 1996 grad.
Oh, I'm older than you, so I won't tell you.
Okay. Well, I know you do have a psychology degree. I'm kind of curious if you had Professor Lowry at all.
I did.
I don't know if you heard that she passed away not too long ago.
I think I saw that on our Facebook group, and it was very sad.
Yeah, that's for sure. Well, tell me a little bit about your organization and what you're doing around the country.
Well, I'm actually, for years I ran crisis pregnancy centers, worked with women experiencing crisis pregnancies, and as I was doing that back in the late 80s, early 90s, I would go to youth pastors and say, I would much rather see your kids at church on Wednesday night than see them in my clinic on Thursday morning. And back in those days, it was like, well, not our kids. And it's like, no, it is your kids. And our kids are struggling with their decisions about sex, and they need to be given the information. They need to understand, God's law about sex, saving sex for marriage, isn't about wrecking our fun and ruining our weekend. It's about giving us the best. And you can avoid so much pain if you just do it God's way. So I began to speak to students about sexual purity and doing it God's way when it comes to this. And I, now I speak to about 500,000 students live every year around the world, and that's kind of consumed me. But I still keep my hands working in the pregnancy clinics here, and my pro-life work has gotten a little more intense over the last couple of years. I share my testimony in every public school, Christian school, Catholic school that I speak in, and it's been amazing that I've been able to share it in the public school. But almost 50 years ago now, a 15-year-old girl became pregnant, had a lot of difficult choices to make because she was raped, but she chose to give her child life and then to place that child with an adoptive family, and that child was me. My biological father is a rapist. I don't even know my ethnicity, but I believe that I am still a human being, and I still have value, and that my life isn't worth less than yours just because of the way I was conceived. And I don't believe that I deserve the death penalty because of the crime of my biological father. And, I've listened to the rhetoric my whole life. I've listened to people say every child should be wanted and planned. And I've listened to people in the church say, well, I wouldn't have an abortion. I wouldn't kill my child. But if it were rape, you're a mistake, Pam.
Yeah.
Matter. I don't believe that. I believe that every child matters to someone, and I actually believe that God had a plan for me. And I understand that that's a difficult theological position to take. But here's what I believe, that my God is so awesome and so amazing that he is capable of taking your worst pain, whether it was something you chose or whether it was something that was done to you, and my God can make something very beautiful come from that. That's amazing grace. That is redemption. And anytime we don't allow redemption, we're coming against the very work of the cross.
And it's interesting when people say that, I am pro-life with the exception of rape and incest. They're arguing the side of the pro-choice movement. They're arguing the side of the baby killers. They're not arguing the side for life at all.
They're saying there's the whole point of Roe v. Wade was a rape exception. The entire reason we have that law is because of the rape exception. And when we continually put it in every piece of legislation, then what we're doing is reaffirming Roe versus Wade every single time. And the things that pro-life people have to understand, if you're going to call yourself pro-life, is that they're going to tell me, and this is what I hear all the time, well, isn't it better than nothing? We're saving some. Shouldn't you applaud that this law, even as flawed as it is, saved 15%? I mean, that's a horrible moral argument. If you're working at a pregnancy center, if you're a sidewalk counselor, if you're dealing directly with girls, then I think you need to save everyone you can. And by the way, when a girl came into my pregnancy center in her intake and she was afraid of being pregnant and wanted a pregnancy test, I didn't ask her if she was raped and then said, oh, you were raped? Oh, here's the business card to the abortion clinic. We're not going to help you. We helped every girl that walked in our door, and we saved every baby regardless of the way in which the conception took place. That's what we were about. But when you're doing legislation, when you're not actually helping women. When you're actually say your purpose is legislation, and in every piece of legislation you throw a group of people under the bus because you want to, for your political expediency, then that's not acceptable ever.
You know, and the other thing is, too, is the argument that you hear that, well, there's not enough people that are pro-life out there that are going to believe this. Well, guess what? Your job is to convince them and make the argument like you do on every other thing that you believe in. You know, why is this any different than pushing legislation that you want and believe in? You go out and you make the case. That's your job. You know, these statistics, we're handcuffed by these statistics that there's a certain segment out there that are not going to support us unless we have an exception for rape and incest. Oh, boy, let's give up and throw in the towel. So
that's exactly what they do. And you know what? Here's the deal. I've been fighting this in the sexual purity movement now I almost aged myself, for 20-some years. Here's what the other side says. Pam, they're all going to have sex. You cannot stop every teenager from having sex. They're all going to do it. So if we give them a condom, at least that's better than nothing. And I have rejected that argument for 20 years. It's not better than nothing. We tell the kids the truth, that sex outside of marriage comes with a consequence, period. You cannot sin safely.
You know, and it's interesting how you mention that with contraceptives. You know, at one point in time, I always thought those arguments were being made by, you know, the far left community, and the far left community does make those arguments. But more and more, I'm hearing that from born-again Christians, from people who are saved and who've been Christians for 20, 30 years, who are just buying into these mushy arguments, situational ethics, I guess, is if you want to call it that.
The culture is affecting us. And you know what? Nebuchadnezzar is going to stand up, and he's going to say, all right, bow to this idol. And I'm going to tell you right now, there's going to be very few people who say, I will not bow. Throw me in the furnace, I will not bow. But the reality is, I don't answer to a political party. I don't answer to a national right to life. I answer to God. End of discussion. This is not about politics. We answer to God, and we do what's right. And you know what? God didn't call me to be successful. When I run into the arms of Jesus, I don't want to hear, well done, thou good and successful servant. I want to hear, well done, thou good and faithful servant.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You know, and I think there's a lot of people that are making these arguments as far as politicians. Politicians always come with a law background, and every law school today practices situational ethics for the most part. And I think when it really boils down to that, situational ethics is killing the Christian community. They're being evangelized by the culture. They're not going to God's word when it comes to this.
Right. And you know what? Because we're more concerned with winning than we are with standing on principle.
Yeah.
We want to win. It's all about winning. It's a game. I mean, the whole reason that we've had this takeover of Georgia Right to Life, which has stood on principle, is because a few people want to win minor political battles and are willing to sacrifice some to do it. That's all it is.
You know, and with the debate that's going on with Georgia Right to Life of, educating people on what's going on. This is just breaking news this past Saturday where a National Right to Life, they're not going to have Georgia Right to Life as an affiliate of theirs anymore, and they're going with another group that has stepped in. You know, and the truth be known, it's funny how we talk about winning. Georgia Right to Life has passed, in the past 9 years, nine anti-abortion laws in Georgia, some of the strongest laws in the country, leading the way, and has produced some of the strongest pro-life candidates that they have endorsed and have actually won. And it's interesting, National Right to Life had an issue with this because they didn't sign on to some stuff that was passed in the House of the United States House of Representatives. But when it comes down to it, the funny thing is that bill, in all honesty, in the House of Representatives has zero chance of seeing the light of day. Okay, so the idea that it's about winning to them is silly.
Even with its horrible logic, the Georgia Right to Life, the Georgia representatives who are truly pro-life said, cannot pass a bill that says we want to ban abortions because a baby can feel pain at 20 weeks, a pain-capable abortion act, and then put except in the case of rape. You have literally negated your argument.
Yep, absolutely.
It makes no sense to put the rape exception there. So what are you saying then? It's a baby or it's not. And if the point of your law is that it's a human being that can feel pain, then you've negated your own argument by putting that in there. It's a horrible bill.
Right.
And they know it.
Pam Stenzel, we appreciate you stopping by here. People, check out your website, pamstenzel.com. What else can we learn about you here before we let you go here, Pam?
Oh, you know what? I would love to come to Georgia. I live in Florida now. I'm your neighbor. I moved from Minnesota to Florida this year, so I'm enjoying sun. But I would love to come anytime if you've got some students that need to hear a message about sexual purity or you want to talk about these life issues, get in touch with me.
PamStenzel.com. That is Pam Stenzel with a Z, STENZEL.com. Check it out today. Pam, thank you so much for joining me.
Thanks, Bill.